Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here, WAM, John Sneisen, and let's talk about cryptocurrency in 2019. As Bitcoin passed its 10th birthday recently in October, we have a lot to try and understand still about cryptocurrencies, as most of the public, the vast majority, still doesn't understand it. In 2019, I believe that we will see a lot of, the major cryptocurrencies become more establishment, and I say that unfortunately, but I think it's true because of people speculating, getting greedy, and hoping for big gains fast in order to make some quick money and all that kind of stuff, instead of focusing on the reason behind these cryptocurrencies. That doesn't mean anything bad for cryptocurrencies in general, and even really the main ones. I just think that'll cause a temporary pause in the whole point of these cryptocurrencies in the first place. I believe Bitcoin will succumb to the pressure of ETFs and futures. Even more so, I believe that we'll probably see ETFs and stuff on more other cryptocurrencies coming out in the near future. I believe that government, and I believe that the government will be attempting to co-opt it as much as they can, or the banks will do the same. I think that this will be a huge issue going forward. But with that said, I am very, very bullish and positive about the future of cryptocurrency, and not just the currency, the blockchain infrastructure, if properly decentralized, and how that can replace governments, replace banks, replace all their programs, and really create alternatives for everything that they do. And there won't even need to be a shot fired for this fraudulent monetary system that leads to wars and poverty and inflation and the enforced usury through legal tender laws and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there are so many horror stories that come out of the monetary system. And as Jeff Berwick has mentioned, the monetary system has led to hundreds of millions of deaths. And what has Bitcoin led to? Some suicides in Asia?
Yeah, well, I think it's way more. Like, it has killed probably close to 1 billion people throughout history, because most of the causes today are people killing themselves, committing suicide. A lot of it has to do with money. And of course, like anything with government throughout history is backed by fiat currency usually, that are killing people. So it's just insane how this idea has just prominently just, killed so many people throughout history.
Well, and every monetary crisis is followed by a war, as we've seen. And so cryptocurrencies are obviously one of the many incredible solutions. I do believe that there's great reason for diversification, gold and silver and all that kind of stuff. I actually think that the majority of what you hold should be probably gold or silver for protecting your purchasing power. But long term, I believe that the revolution, not as much a revolution as an evolution, will not be televised, but it will be here on the internet, and we will be making sure that everyone understands the incredible potential and opportunity that comes with it, because this isn't about making money, though money is a side effect that we can all enjoy very much if you can make a lot of gains off this. But it will be about how we innovate the market, how competing currencies overthrow governments, regardless of, are you a conservative, a liberal, a socialist, a fascist, a communist, any of those things, or an anarchist? It doesn't really matter. You don't have to get along. You don't have to agree with each other. This will be something that will replace these governments on the free market, regardless of what part of the paradigm you might be in, the circular paradigm or outside, because people won't need to shoot at each other for their ideas to be imposed, because the market will provide for such a thing with the incredible innovations on cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. John, what do you think in 2019 going forward, where we're going to see cryptocurrencies go?
Well, I think cryptocurrencies, and most likely from what it looks like right now, it looks like a crisis is brewing in the financial markets when it comes to both debt, like it's the everything bubble, as we talked about. And during that time, when people really are, I'm not talking about right now when you have minor sell-offs, but when you actually get the panic, the full-fledged panic, when everybody's understanding that, the stock markets are going down. There's going to be mass, collapse of debt around the world. All this debt that we printed out of thin air, a lot of it is not going to be payable back. At that time frame, I believe that there's going to be a substantial adoption of cryptocurrency together with having gold and silver, because people are going to look for, okay, how can I get out of the banking system in a panic? Look at Greece, in Cyprus, for example, in 2013, there was a massive rack up in the price of Bitcoin because of the bail-ins that happened over there. So people are going to look for solutions to how to get out of the capital controls, the asset freezes, the bail-ins in the banking system. That's going to be a huge one.
I think it's also really important to mention how revolutionary it is in places like Venezuela, and I believe going forward, Argentina even more so, as Venezuela uses Dash as a currency, as the government tries to push their petrocoin on people. People are like, I don't really care what the government says. They're just gonna do whatever they want because the government has destroyed their lives and impoverished them, and they're like, why would I look at the government and the banks to save me from the problems of the governments and the banks? Cancer can't cure cancer, and I think it's really important that, as we go into the massive fiat failure worldwide, all fiat currencies eventually revert to their true value of zero, always have, always will, going back to 1024 AD in China. I believe that we will see a massive crisis continue to elapse in places like Argentina, which has gone through countless inflationary events over the last 100 years, and we will see cryptocurrencies and blockchain infrastructure technology come to the rescue there as well. Now, I want to get into something that we shouldn't get into, which is price prediction, because everyone wants to know, where's Bitcoin going next? Where's cryptocurrencies going next? Where's the market capitalization at by the end of 2019? Well, let's talk about that a bit. First of all, valuing Bitcoin in US dollars. I don't think that will be necessary in the near future. I believe we'll just base it market capitalization versus the price of living.
Will die out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, versus the price of living. What can you buy with that amount of Bitcoin or Dash or Digibyte or EOS or whatever? Anyway, I wanted to go into this article from News Bitcoin, which says Bitcoin may breach $333,000 by 2023. Why this prediction isn't crazy, and it goes into stuff said by John McAfee, who we recently interviewed here at WEM, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into the full article. You guys can check it out yourself at newsbitcoin.com. But I wanted to mention it because I feel like, of course it can do that, and of course it could do that by 2023 if the fiat currency fails, especially with hyperinflation, or if just a major inflationary event, that value in Bitcoin will be equivalent to very little compared to today even. Course, yeah. So, we have to understand that what could happen, the potential problems arising with currencies, fiat currencies around the world going forward. But with that said, at the 7-year average daily rate of growth as of, I believe, August 2017, when I last measured this. So there's a differentiation in different bull and bear busts and booms and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, at the 7-year average daily rate of growth, Bitcoin should hit $250,000 by the year 2022. With that said, it's all dependent on news, basic human psychology, how the government and banks try to manipulate the price like they manipulate every other market on the planet, and of course, how many people are utilizing the currencies, the technology, and if we can use it as a currency and store a value in different ways and different aspects, because of course there's multiple reasons for these currencies to exist, not just for the sake of currency, many for the sake of investment, many as the backbone for major technologies and websites and ideas and companies and tokens. They're tokenizing bankruptcies in some cases, as Charlie Shrem was telling me about a while back ago. John, as we go into 2019, I know price speculation is a terrible idea overall, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a bull market in 2019 quite yet, because we still haven't hit my bottom that I was expecting to see by now for Bitcoin. Where do you think Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general are going to be going as far as price goes?
Well, I think it just depends on the market capitalization of any Bitcoin, how much money is going to move into the market. And of course, this is my article back from December 7th, 2017. And here you could see actually me predicting, because what I did is I looked at how much coins is going to be in supply from all the different cryptocurrencies, and then I looked at what could be the potential market capitalization of these things. And here's, for example, Bitcoin. We could just let's say like we can't really, like, by saying a number we can well, that's going to be the price, but how much is going to take us to get there? For example, the 333,000. Well, that's going to take a lot of but not substantially, like a ton compared to what other market caps around the world, but it will take about 6 trillion US dollars to actually get to that place where Bitcoin could have that price. And that's not a lot when you think about it, because that is less than the gold market cap. It's less than the world forex markets. It's less than gold, the S&P 500. It's less than the global M1. It's less than global stocks. So it's less than a lot. So it's definitely a potential. And even the $1 million mark that John McAfee was talking about, that's just a little bit less than the S&P 500 companies. So it's definitely not totally impossible. But I think at that time when we reach those prices, I think, as you said, there's not going to be a thought of actually the price being in US dollars or Norwegian krone or whatever currency you have. I think it's going to be, okay, my gas bill today is X amount of crypto, whatever crypto it is. I think that's where we're going to hopefully move towards in the future, and then see, okay, it takes me like 0.005 Bitcoins to pay for my gas when I fill up, for example, just an example. And that, I think that is the future, where people are sick and tired of this fiat monarchy that are running our world, putting us in a feudalist system, controlling us and making us slaves forever to debt slaves. So that's, I think we're going to see a divergence from that, and then into more freedom related things, because people are getting fed up with it. Just look at France and everywhere else, Josh. You have mass protests against the governments, but they don't really understand that they're really protesting the end of the monetary system, which is happening right in front of them.
And there's instability around the planet, and unfortunately most people ask for government and other entities to save them from the problems of government. Maybe this flavor of collectivism will change it. But I wanted to mention what my picks are, because, okay, let me make this clear. This is my opinion, not investment advice, but my picks for 2019 are based on something I've looked at the white papers, I've studied them versus the infrastructure built around them, and how they're affecting different businesses and websites and social media networks, which are huge going forward when it comes to alternatives to the big ones, and without having to depend on major bandwidth like we've had to depend on Google for YouTube, where you have blockchain technology where people can share bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. Very real potentials there. But my picks for cryptocurrencies in general in 2019, and you might be a little bit surprised by this, but Bitcoin and Litecoin are big. I believe Litecoin is finally starting to be implemented a lot more than it has in the past. I've talked with Charlie Lee in recent days, and what's that, John?
Well, they're actually sponsoring, I saw an article about sponsoring a UFC event as well.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. And then really big ones that are really low right now, BitTube. It's got the ticker Tube. BitTube is probably one of my favorites going forward, just because of what it's based on and the potential involved there with something like BitTube, the website, the YouTube alternative. I actually think it's a really good website. I think more people need to get on it, but I think it has great potential going forward, considering how low of a market capitalization BitTube has right now. It's minuscule for something that is potentially really big. And in my personal opinion, and you might be surprised by this, has more potential going forward than Steemit. And Steem is still in the top, I think, 60. It's fallen quite a ways, but I do believe it has a huge potential. BitTube is huge, and then you look at things like BitChute, and then Community, as you've been looking into,
Actually, I gotta be frank, because I'm actually starting to work with them, so I'm a little bit biased, but I really like their project. That's why I got involved with them, because they're developing onto the EOS platform, which was the delegated proof of stake, and now they're actually building upon that, because they saw what happened with Steemit and the issues there of centralization. So now they're trying to build a social media that is actually supposed to work itself out and give an actual score to you that is actually apparent on what is your reputation right now. And
Social credit? No, just kidding.
Yeah, that sounds pretty scary, but it's not a decentralized version, of course.
It's the market deciding, and that's U.community.
Yeah, U.community, but the actual currency behind it is called UOS. So it's a UOS. It's an interesting currency that I'm watching because what they did.
Is it a token on EOS?
No, it's I think I'm not sure 100% sure yet. I'm trying to figure this stuff out but it's very interesting. Their platform, their social media platform, that's what really piqued my interest about this currency. And then of course how they merged with, it was a NEM coin, which had like proof of importance. So they merged those into something called delegated proof of importance. So very interesting stuff that's going on there. And I hope that it could turn into something really good for the future. They're actually working with what is his name, Jeff Burns, or that is in Nevada. They're actually looking at talking to him about implementing their currency there.
Yeah, they're creating. Yeah. There's a huge blockchain power community that's being built in Nevada, free of the government. And I do also want to mention EOS as it stands. EOS is great infrastructure if it's used as it's supposed to be used. And then from the privacy coin perspective, because I mean EOS is very transparent. From the privacy coin perspective, where it's not as much as self-governance as keeping yourself as giving yourself as much privacy as possible. Monero is huge, and it has been for a long time, and it will be going forward for a long time. The technology is moving so fast, so it's crazy. But Monero is a big one when it comes to not having the government snooping on every move you make at all times. John?
Yeah, and then another one, Josh, is of course Dash. You know, Dash is tremendously, actually that has one of the best adoptions right now, especially with the collapse in Venezuela and other countries around the world, third world countries. The Dash community has been very good at going and talking and having kind of a front out to people and educating them. Really good. I'm really impressed about what the Dash community has done with the Dash coin, of course.
Yeah, and Dash is what I was going to get to next, because obviously Dash and Digibyte, I should also mention. Digibyte is very similar to Dash.
Fast currency.
Yeah, and there's a lot to Digibyte. There's countless reasons to be excited about Digibyte going forward. Stephen P. Kendall, who we've done a lot of work with here at WAM, interviewing him and having conversations with him, has been working a lot on promoting Digibyte, and he's convinced me it's incredible, the innovations that are being built there. But I want to also just mention that there are so many new cryptocurrencies, many forks that will probably happen in 2019. Oh, God. But I mean, some of them will be really good and really earth-shattering, and we don't even know what's coming next. I mean, it's such a new technology, a new market, and a new type of innovation that we cannot really predict what exactly is going to happen next. The only thing I can predict is that the government will try to stop it. The banks will try to stop it. They'll manipulate the price, pump and dump it. We know this has already happened several times, and it will continue to happen as long as they exist. But with that said, they are doing the same thing to gold and silver, and that doesn't count out gold and silver. And the more they push it down like a beach ball effect, the more it'll bounce up once they let go. So, John, as we close it off, 2019, you looking forward to cryptocurrencies and blockchain in 2019?
Well, I definitely do, because I see what's coming, and who knows, with the markets, calamities like that we have now with the massive volatility. So you could have suddenly that black swan. Well, it's not really black swan, but anyways, it's easily predictable, but a market crash, and that will force people into trying to find these alternative assets that cryptocurrencies is posed, because they're outside of the bankster grid. You know, they're not in control of a lot of the banksters. Now,
bank in your pocket.
Yeah. Now, of course, they're trying to co-opt and take over certain parts of it. But with the decentralized system, you can't just control it as their wet dream of believing is. It's almost next to nothing impossible. Even with Bitcoin, like their hashing power, all these different pools around, there's like not even one that's over 20% control. So it's very hard to actually gain control over that system. But then also, I believe that what we're going to see is some revolutionary stuff, like, for example, the delegated proof of importance and other type of chains and systems that's going to come into be, like, for example, Hashgraph. We're trying to do some, but then they copyrighted and trademarked it and went like full statist on it, unfortunately. But systems like that, I think they will pop up suddenly even more and more as the government is trying to centralize, the power of these cryptocurrencies, and then we'll have an even better system that is even more decentralized and even more powerful. So I believe we're going to see a lot of new innovation, because it's going really fast. I think it's going to be very very interesting year in 2019. It was kind of consolidation year where you're going to see a lot of, probably in 2019, you can see a lot of bad ICOs go south. There's going to be a lot of collapses in currencies. But I believe what's going to come out of that is more innovation, more great things, and more solutions to all the big problems in the world that we have today.
Yeah, and I also want to add that one thing I think will actually gain quite a lot of value going forward, and I hate myself for saying this, but Ripple or XRP. I do believe as much as it's controlled by the banks and everything, it's for that reason that it's giving them its speculative value. It is a ripoff, but I actually do think that as much as I dislike Ripple, it will do well going forward. The institutions are really getting behind it, and Bill Clinton's doing speeches with it. But I also want to also mention scarcity, application, use, and demand. That is subjective value. Value is completely subjective. It's not physical. Physicality plays into application use of within subjective value. So gold and silver have scarcity, application use, and demand, which give it so much value. The application use being part of the physicality and the use in electronics and all that kind of stuff. It's used as a currency. It's scarce, so there's not a lot of it on the planet, and it's in demand, obviously. Bitcoin, for example, scarcity, application use, and demand. Its application use is easy transactions, fast transactions, all that kind of stuff. It's very scarce. There's not a lot of it on the planet. It's only 21 million by the year 2140, and it's constantly being halved, and it's growing at a lesser and lesser rate, making it more and more scarce within people's hands. When a ton of people adopt it, it'll be really hard to have one single Bitcoin, just like it's really hard today to have $10 million.
And you could also think about that. You have 8 Satoshis right now after the comma. Well, you can add into the algorithm very easily 16 or 32.
Yeah,
so that's not going to stop anything, and it's not going to be a problem for the future. Those little things that some few economists spew up because they believe that they're understanding anything about cryptocurrency. So we're heading for something really cool and something really important time in history where we have the choice to become completely independent, free, or become totalitarian slaves under the government with their digital currencies that they will come out with.
Yeah, and what I was getting at with the scarcity, application, use, and demand is the fact that people keep calling Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies fiat. Now, fiat is by force. Fiat is by legal tender laws. Fiat is completely centralized and controlled by government and central banks, private central banks as well. And I think it's really important to make that differentiation, because those of you that will comment, and I know those of you that won't watch this video all the way through are going to comment within moments of me publishing this video about this. But it's not fiat. If you think Bitcoin is fiat, then you don't know what Bitcoin or fiat is, which is unfortunate, because if you're so vocal about something, you should probably know about it. And that is a huge problem among so many that just say, well, it's not physical. So the internet's not physical. Food, for example. Food is also based on scarcity, application, use, and demand. It is subjective. Not everyone likes every kind of food. And then the less scarce foods, the very abundant foods like lentils, for example, are cheap, while super high-end sushi that is scarce is expensive.
And your brain and body.
Yeah, exactly. Scarcity, application, use, and demand. It applies to food. Food isn't physical value. It is subjective value. Some beetles eat poop. Humans don't. That's subjective value. You go to parts of Africa many centuries ago, colonists were buying all these pearls off them for really cheap, while the locals there, the natives, were like, I don't want this. It's not important to me. It's subjective. It's all subjective. Monkeys don't use gold. Giraffes don't use gold. Humans do, and I think it's really important, that we understand where the value comes from, and it's not just a given. It's not just entrenched or intrinsic within something that it has value. Otherwise, it wouldn't just sit in the earth for millions of years and not doing anything. It is not intelligent life. It is an entity that humans put value on. And with that said, certain things that humans put value on deteriorate over time and they lose value. Some things humans put value on progress, prevail, and become more valuable over time as it gets scarce and people use it more abundantly.
And that's why gold became claim that because it was like never deteriorated over time. But grain did. Like grain couldn't be a reserve currency because it was like moldy and bad after a certain time. So that's exactly what it is. It's just like how we apply it. You know, different regions have different ideas of what is valuable. That's just a human fact. And everybody has different paradigms and beliefs about things. So you're never going to have everybody like agreeing that this has a value and everybody has to agree upon that. No, everybody's going to think different things have value no matter what you say. And
I'm glad that those of you are still watching this video, because I guarantee you so many people who watch this video will not watch it this far, will barely watch it at all, in fact, and then just write troll comments in the comments below.
Yeah, and last, Josh, it's you were saying by fiat, right? Like that's why they're saying Donald Trump did this by fiat or the government did this by fiat. Yeah, it's by force. It shall be. That's what fiat means in Latin. It's the law, and that's what fiat is. It's not had nothing to do at all with cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies is a currency. Yes, that is correct. And currencies doesn't necessarily have a massive, backing of something behind them. But money, things that have hard things. But the thing is, though, you're looking more and more at certain cryptocurrencies, and it's like, oh, this is very similar to money. And now, of course, the merger between precious metals and cryptocurrencies, you have that thing back again. So I don't know, it's a huge discussion, but again, I think cryptocurrencies is gonna stay here and prevail, and they're not gonna go to zero. Yeah, a lot of them are gonna go to zero and disappear, but we're gonna have the strong ones, the ones that people can actually use and are great tools for society, is gonna prevail and succeed in the coming year.
And I gotta add this to the very end here, John. Thoughts aren't physical, but they have value. Unfortunately, they're very scarce. Thinking these days, thinking these days is very scarce. And but application use, you could do amazing things with thoughts when you emulate it into something massive and build skyscrapers, etc. Love is very subjective, but love is also not a physical thing, but it is also very scarce. That's why it's so important in life. And then, of course, even one of the major points that people say is, oh, it's thin air. Well, yeah, but thin air has value too. You need oxygen to survive. I mean, technically it's physical when you go down to the very, but you know what I mean. Like, the point is they compare it to thin air. And it's like, yeah, well, it's pretty important. It is somewhat scarce, actually, and it is in demand. I assure you, we need it to live and to have those thoughts and to have love and to, value cryptocurrency and value something like gold and silver and to value food and sustenance and, enjoying life, happiness and sadness and all these things. All of these come from something that isn't necessarily physical. So the very fact that clashed atoms and all that kind of stuff and the and supernovas and all that kind of stuff creating gold. I mean, folks, we are simplifying a very massive astronomical thing, which is a value that is subjective to the individual and where it comes from to begin with, and the energy in the air that creates value, the internet that you're looking at right now. You don't think that has value? I think it does. Do you pay for internet? I think you probably do. Again, it has value.
Yeah, and it comes to, you can have different planets with different life forms that look at a whole different wide array of other things. We only look for the water and the air and the oxygen, but there could be different life forms living on a whole different way of life rules than we are. So again, talking about this, we're gonna keep on talking forever, of course, Josh, but it just comes back to that. Just understand that, and you'll understand that even gold and silver could not necessarily have that value, but it does because of the application and use demand that it has throughout history.
Absolutely, and it historically does. And I mean, it all comes down to decentralizing everything, being free, ruling yourself, the free market, competing currencies, individual demand. That is all very important, and it's not what we have today. Instead, we have debt dependency and complete fraud and organized crime, governments and banks, etc. So yes, we could talk about this all day. I'm hoping that we've covered enough here, John, that I won't have to explain how cryptocurrency and gold are both good again for a while.
Comments, so Josh, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get comments. Oh man. Help us, folks. If you're one of the people watching these videos, if you look below and see countless, help them understand this situation a bit more, because it appears that they haven't actually watched it. But anyway, people have different opinions. Fine, that's nothing against it. But let's actually understand what people are talking about before, contradicting them, attacking them, and all that other stuff. And no, I'm not being paid by Bitcoin to say that, because Bitcoin isn't a company. Oh my God, the amount of times I get accused of that.
Dash you could be paid from.
Dash digital
Bitcoin,
cash, yeah. Anyway, so as we sign out, 2019 looks like a good year. Always be optimistic, make the best out of everything, be self-sustainable, independent, free, everyone. Don't depend on this shadow on the wall that we call the state, which is, and the banking system, which only is given power because we give it power. We believe it has power. Do not allow yourself to succumb to the illness of statism and collectivism. Anyway, yeah, subjective value. I don't really have value for that. I think I'll go without government and banks. Anyway, thanks for going into this with us, John. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change, and happy 2019. Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored on YouTube, as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. Also, check out our Bitcoin address below, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also check us out at steemit.com. We're at Josh Sigurdson. It's a future of social media where you get paid in the upvote of your post in cryptocurrency. Steem, that is. So make sure to check us out there. Make sure to join us at Anarchapulco 2019 with people like Ron Paul, G. Edward Griffin, of course, Jeff Berwick, Vid Jedlicka. So many incredible speakers are going to be speaking. It's just a massively growing event. It is something you have to see to believe. So make sure to check it out below and save money on your tickets by using promo code WAM, that's WAM, and I hope to see you there. Also, check out our newsletter as we are getting demonetized and censored and all that. We don't know what comes next, so we have an email, worldalternativemedia@gmail.com. Send us an email with subject line YES, YES, and we will include you in the newsletter, where we will continuously keep you updated. So until next time, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.